The economic problem is how to make the best out of limited or scarce resources. We have this problem because though our wants, needs, and desires are endless, there are not endless resources. The amount of resources that we have to satisfy needs are far more limited than the needs themselves. As an example, let's look at the problem of pollution. If there's power produced by coal, the pollution can affect people all around the world. This is an issue because there is no way to rely on the free market to give the best outcome.
There are 3 basic economic questions. Number 1, what should we produce? Before a business can get started, it is important to have a solid idea on what to produce. A good way to start your plan is to ask what problem needs to be solved. Number 2, how should we produce it? The most important aspect in manufacturing is where to get and how to allocate resources. Number 3, the final questions. For whom should we produce? It is also important to ensure there is a market for your product. If there is no demand for solving the problem you choose, the business will likely fail.
As price increases, demand decreases and supply increases. The market clearing function is used to figure out what price to sell your good or service at so as to not have a surplus or a shortage of materials. The market clearing price is the price at which the supply and demand are equal to each other. In this example shown, the market clearing price is at $30 within the purple circle. The supply and demand are equal to each other at 1,000. The price increase, when you increase the price, there is a surplus within the teal circle, and surplus equals supply minus demand. The price decrease within the yellow circle is a shortage, where shortage equals demand minus supply.
A monopolistic market is defined as a market where there is only one firm that dictates the price and supply levels of goods and services. This means that this kind of market has total control over everything. A market with perfect competition is defined as a market composed of many firms where no one firm has market control. Some other differences include output and price. In a perfectly competitive market, marginal cost and equilibrium output are equal, while in a monopoly, the prices are greater than average costs. Entry into the market. In a perfectly competitive market, there are no restrictions on entering an industry, while in a monopoly, there are restrictions on entry. And discrimination. In a monopolistic market, a monopolist is able to charge different prices for different groups of buyers. In a perfectly competitive market, that is not.
According to the Cato Institute, if the government decided minimum wage, or how much a fast food employee gets paid, millions would lose jobs, hours would get reduced, prices would rise for the consumer and businesses, especially local and small businesses, and they would potentially shut down altogether. On the surface, raising the minimum wage for hourly workers sounds like a good idea, but it would only cause prices to rise for every consumer, even the ones who are on salary who didn't end up getting a raise. And the cost of living would rise as well. $15 an hour would simply become the new $7.25. Businesses should have the right to decide if they pay workers the minimum $7.25 an hour or more. Besides, the majority pay more than that anyways. In other words, the market should decide. How well is the business doing? How large is the business? How many employees does the company have? And how strenuous is the work? As the Cato Institute says, employers pay employees for the perceived value of the work the employees undertake, not to compensate the employees for their rent, food, energy, transportation, clothes, or child care bills.
A minimum wage worker will make around $7.25 an hour. What would happen if the government had wage control over the independent businesses? If the government were to control the salary for minimum wage employees, several things would happen. Raising the minimum wage would raise the prices for every consumer, including the cost of living. Due to this raise in wage, hours would be reduced so people wouldn't be working nearly as often. Also, small and local businesses would have to shut down altogether due to not being able to afford the cost of their employees. All in all, it could be very detrimental to people and the economy if the government has control over the minimum wage price. Leave it to the business.